I would like to announce at this time that we read a statement in regards to the way we're conducting our meeting today by Zoom or by telephone. Want to announce to the public that Jenny Storley will not be in attendance with us today, but we do have a quorum and we will conduct our business. The following statements should be made at the beginning of any meeting that commissioners attend by telephone or Zoom to ensure the record reflects the necessary information to support these types of conferences or meetings. They are by statute, and number one, it has been determined that an in-person meeting is not practical or prudent because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the related peacetime emergency declaration made by Governor Walz in accordance with Minnesota Statutes Chapter 12. Secondly, we have ensured that all members of the body participating in the meeting, wherever their physical location, can hear one another and can hear all discussion and testimony offered at today's meeting. Number three, excuse me. We have also ensured that members of the public present at the regular meeting location of the body can hear all discussion and testimony and all votes of the members of the body. We have urged the public not to attend this meeting in person because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and have ensured that members of the public can view and monitor the meeting remotely in real time by broadcasting the meeting on the Cook County website. Number four, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we have determined that it may be unfeasible for County Auditor Brady Powers, County Attorney Molly Hicken, County Administrator James Yorkey, and the members of the Board of Commissioners to be physically present at the county boardroom at the Cook County Courthouse. Number five, all votes will be conducted by roll call, so each member's vote on each issue will be identified and recorded. Would you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Do we have any adjustments to the agenda? I know we made some yesterday. Any that would be off changed in during this period of time? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner DeKirk. Do we have support?
Second, Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Roll call vote. Commissioner DeKirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim, aye. Passes unanimously. We'll go on to the public comment period. I've been made aware that we have one from Andrea Orest. Do we have any others? I think that our administrator is going to read that for us. Do we have any others? No one's
None
there.
that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you. Would you go ahead and read her
Sure.
report?
Certainly. Commissioner Bersheim, or Chairman Bersheim and Commissioners, Andrea Orest from the Sawtooth Mountain Clinic did offer a comment after the last board meeting. Her comment was, on behalf of the Safe Routes to School Committee, thank you all the commissioners, and especially Heidi Dukirk, for your kind words and support for the updated Safe Routes to School plan. And Commissioner Dukirk responded saying that it was actually Commissioner Storley who spoke up in the meeting, saying she deserves all the praise. But Andrea responded, and rightly so, that Commissioner Dukirk and actually a lot of other people who were involved in the development of this plan are to be credited for its development. It's a good plan, and it's something that the community needs. So that is Andrea's comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks to all who helped her with that, and especially for her leadership. We'll go to the consent agenda items. Do we have anything that a commissioner would like to pull? Commissioner Dukirk?
Can we pull F, please?
F, okay, very good. Any others? And could we just go to a motion to approve all of those, and then we'll pay attention to F?
So moved.
Thank you. Support?
Support from Commissioner Mills. Over.
Roll call. Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Bershheim's aye. Passes. Then we'll go to letter F, John Bear Grease Sled Dog Marathon Permit. Commissioner Dukirk, I'll turn it to you for your concerns.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to make note so that the community is well aware that there is a COVID plan included in this, and that the people putting this event together are paying close attention to that, to the numbers. It goes through multiple communities and counties. And if you will open the packet, if anyone in the community has concerns, and take a look, they have reached out to the public health in each area. So I know that it seems with our numbers at 36 in Cook County odd to have this on a consent agenda and approved by us, but I just wanted the community to know that we are taking precautions seriously and we are addressing that.
Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills, do you have any comments on it?
I don't have any further comments. I
Okay.
appreciate Commissioner Dukirk bringing the COVID aspect of the permit to our attention. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Dukirk, for doing that. Very important. So I'd entertain a motion to approve this item.
So moved.
Okay, support.
Support from Commissioner Mills.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk,
Aye.
Bershheim is aye, passes unanimously. We'll go to Emergency Operations Command update. We have with us Grace Grenager. I haven't seen if Mike Keyport's with us yet. I guess I have to look at, but Grace, would you like to start?
Sure. So since I gave my last update on October 27th, the pandemic has continued to intensify here in our country. In these past 2 weeks, our case count has over doubled from 17 to 36. As of last Wednesday, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare put our county's testing positivity rate at 11.1%, which is over the recommended limit of 5. And what that generally indicates in public health is that there's not adequate testing happening. And we've talked about that and thought about that a lot. And we do have a good availability of tests here. With the mail-in saliva program, the respiratory clinic, the drive-up option, what we're seeing is that people aren't getting tested when they have symptoms. So it's more of a public education and messaging piece, I think, rather than an actual availability of the tests themselves. So I think that's what's driving our positivity rate up. It's a sign that we have more COVID in the community right now. So it's something that we're watching very closely and we're continuing to work on. It's just also a reminder that we all need to take the pandemic seriously and do our part to slow the spread of the virus. I know after our positivity rate reached a certain threshold, I believe everyone received a letter from Commissioner of Health, Jan Malcolm, just explaining what that positivity rate means and that we should keep up the work of confronting the pandemic head on in our personal lives and decisions. So notes from the EOC, as you saw in the consent agenda, Jody Turvo Roberts, who's been working as one of our temporary public health staff in her role as school liaison, was offered and accepted the permanent public health educator position. She will be able to start cross-training with Kristen as soon as this week, potentially, and she'll also be able to continue to act as our school liaison. We're kind of shuffling things around I'll be meeting with the other temp staff in public health to reconfigure the way that we're staffing to make sure that we continue to have the capacity to meet the growing need for public health response to the pandemic in the context of people shifting around their positions. Also, in the area of contact tracing and case investigation, which has been quite busy in these past 2 weeks, 2 of our Minnesota Response volunteers, Joni and Nathan Christensen, will begin training in on case investigation and contact tracing this week to add capacity to our contact tracing efforts. And we're exploring the possibility of bringing on 2 additional volunteers if needed in the future so that we can continue to offer a high quality of contact tracing and case investigation, even as our case volume increases. So MDH has changed many of its case investigation contact tracing systems last night. So we're all hoping for a smooth transition with the technology involved, and all of our staff are working to train in on the new systems that are involved with the work. We also have put together, with the help of Andrea Orest, who also acts as our volunteer manager for the EOC, a small group of volunteers through Minnesota Responds who signed up to deliver essential services to people in isolation and quarantine. So with the number of our cases rising, we have many more people in the community who are in isolation and quarantine. And it's just really helpful to have people able to deliver things like groceries and thermometers and cleaning supplies, whatever someone needs to be able to stay home for the recommended amount of time. And Andrea will be working with Mike Keyport and Jim to work out the logistics piece of the essential service delivery along with our volunteers. And finally, some good news related to COVID. So Kate Serba, the CEO of Sawtooth Mountain Clinic, and myself met with the State Emergency Operations Center last Friday afternoon to talk about addressing any barriers to testing in our community. And they agreed to give our community 250 of the saliva test specimen kits to increase the local access to testing. And this is at no cost to us here in the county. So they're also willing to provide training so that one of the clinic staff would be able to actually drive to someone's home and watch them give a test specimen, to give a saliva specimen. And this is great for people who have issues accessing transportation, accessing the internet. We know the mail-in program requires a degree of tech savvy and internet access that not all of our community members have. So having these actual kits on hand with people trained and able to bring them to folks who need it in very select situations. It's not, for everyone, but for those special situations, it really will help us decrease barriers to testing. We're also working on a pilot project where we could perhaps embed getting people test kits as part of our essential services. There's an option with these test kits to go through the telehealth visit, similar to the mail-in program. So there's a lot of detail to be worked out here with the clinic, with the EOC, with the state, first of which is to actually get the specimen kits to us here in Cook County. But the fact that they are able to provide these at no cost to the community is a huge benefit, and it's something I'm very grateful for. So, we're gonna work towards creating some stronger systems to decrease barriers for people to get those tests, and hopefully that'll help drive our positivity rate back down. That's my report for today.
Okay, thank you, Grace. Any comments or questions from Commissioner Mills? We'll start with you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Grace, for the update. I'm very grateful that we've got Jody moving into Kristen's position, and very grateful for the flexibility of moving tasks around within the your group there, and just hearing more about the testing access. I think it is a huge deal. So I'm grateful for finding ways to reduce those barriers. I have ordered and received the saliva test, and it was a little bit a tech jumping hoops, and definitely saw some where there could be some challenges, and I had challenges myself there. So I think it's great that we can get that get some people trained so that they can do the witness for the saliva test. And then, yeah, I did just this morning receive a letter from Commissioner Malcolm asking us to do our best to communicate just safe practices and all we can do. And specifically, she's having 4 bullet point asks. One is encouraging compliance with masking requirements and gathering restrictions, increasing communication to / partnerships with businesses, including restaurants / bars, to reinforce the harmful impact of spread of our vulnerable long-term care residents, by amplifying communication in our community regarding the risk and spread of the virus to everyone in the community, and especially to our elders, and by encouraging those most at risk for severe disease, like the elderly and those with health conditions, to stay home as much as possible, and encouraging those who interact with them to use preventative measures carefully. So just the more we as commissioners and we as a community can emphasize these points, the better off we're going to be at combating that. And yeah, just thank you for all your work there, Grace. Over.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Commissioner Dukert.
Thanks for the update, Grace. It's sad that our numbers are increasing, but just reiterate what Commissioner Mills said: practice, practice, and practice safe protocols and keeping distance. Many of our community members are Scandinavian, so we like to distance normally, but just remember that, because I'm one of those Scandinavians that likes to hug, so don't get to do that anymore. I am also an essential caregiver, which means I need to be tested twice a week in order to continue to be a caregiver. And I will tell you, it's not that bad. Did it this morning before this meeting. It doesn't hurt. And the line goes pretty quickly. It's pretty safe. It's very clean. And, just do it. Don't be afraid to do it. And I will tell you, it's a mindset thing, because just before the first test, stress got to me and I wasn't feeling very well, and I was going to not go to the test. And then I had to sit there and tell myself, wait a second, the whole point of the test is to see where you're at when you're not feeling good. So don't be afraid of the test. Don't be afraid if you get a phone call and say that you've been in contact with someone who has tested positive. Just do the right thing. Do what's best for your family and friends and neighbors, and practice safe protocols and get tested and answer that phone call if you get it, and hang in there. We know that this sucks. It's the only way to put it. We're tired of staying home. We're tired of wearing masks. We're tired of getting the news and the updates, but we as a community will get through this. We will get better, and know that you're not alone in your feelings. And it's not easy. It's hard. We're all trying our best. So with the holidays coming up, I know that you all want to be close to your friends and family, but please think very, very hard about what you're doing, and think about how quickly that this can spread and what that spread will do to your friends and family. There will be more holidays. There will be more opportunities in the future for you to visit your friends and family. Look at what we're doing as commissioners. Have yourself a Zoom Thanksgiving. That's all I've got. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Dukert. Yeah, I would like to personally add too that I've gone through the saliva test more than 2 weeks ago, because number one, I wanted to try it as a commissioner and as a person. but also I thought I might have been exposed to something. So it was good to know I got a negative test there. And as of last week, I came down with some kind of bug with a high fever and out hiking, and I called the clinic and talked to someone and was able to get in on Friday and get the other test. And it's very reassuring to know that you're not sick. And I know that quarantine is not fun, and it's a lot easier for me being, you know, an older person without having a regular kind of job or an essential worker or something. So I know it's easier for me, but you know, we're all in this together, but we got to take care of ourselves too. And I think if we all start with that, it's so much better. And thank you, Grace, for all you do. And we do have good testing resources, especially having this new saliva system. It's whatever we can do to help people individually, it's going to help our community, and it goes both ways. So thank you. So Mike Keyport, we'll turn it over to you. Thanks for all you do, Mike. I thought we had Mike on.
I see him.
He was
He's
having
talking, but he doesn't have volume.
Mike, we can't hear you. I guess we'll come back to Mike later if he wants to signal where he can get connected with us again. One last call to Mike Keyport.
He can probably just go into the commissioner's room.
Yeah, we're going to check on him and see if we can get him in here.
Okay, we'll wait a couple minutes.
I have to go ahead and log off, but thank you, commissioners, and thank you for all of your support.
Thank you,
Thank
Grace.
you.
He's logging back in.
Okay. I don't know if you all heard that, but Mike is trying to log back in. Let's give him just another minute.
James, you sort of give me the signal when I should move on, otherwise I'll wait.
I certainly will. I think he's trying to log back on. If it's not working, maybe we need to get him in here. There, I see him logging on. Mike, can you hear us? I'll just add, it looks like I've got a strong signal here, but I've also been getting a weak connection message. I don't know if Mike is also on the Wi-Fi, but that may be part of the issue. I'm not sure what's going on with the signal. Can you all hear me okay? And see me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, 30 seconds and then we'll move on. We can come back to that. Administrator Yorkie, if you just let me know when he comes back on, and if he
Will
has a
do.
report, then we'll work it in.
Yep.
Okay,
Sure
we'll
thing.
go to maintenance. Welcome, Brian Silence. Our first item under your department is insulation at the recycling center.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, they asked if they could, if we could go ahead and look for some quotes to insulate back in the cardboard processing area back there. It's a kind of a large area. They do the glass breaking and packaging back there. Some of the clothes that come into the shop that they send off to make rags and stuff out of is also back there. So it's a big area and it needs to be insulated and probably a new heater put in back there. They spend a lot of time back there and it's something that they asked for.
Sure. Okay, so this is something that just has been an ongoing issue, and they would like to have some cost estimate.
Correct.
Right, okay. Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? I think Commissioner Mills, any comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, Brian, for the request. So it's currently not insulated at all, but it is heated. Is that the situation?
It's insulated back there, but through the years of being damaged by forklifts and other things hitting it, it's in need of some repair and insulation. The seating is not very well insulated at all, never has been.
Okay. Yeah, it's certainly. I think we should certainly get an idea of what it costs, and that'll help us with any decisions moving forward. I guess with that, well, with all of our buildings, really, I'd like to have a little bit larger discussion about our plans and our needs. But I think getting just an estimate for this part would help us see the bigger picture. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Dukirk, any comments?
I will wait until after Mr. Nelson. He's had his hand up.
I'm sorry, I can't see him. I'm limited on my screen, so thank you. Mr. Nelson, Tim, would you like to add to this?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to add a little bit of clarification that, the recycling center, as you may or may not know, actually started out much smaller. It's been added to. This is, it's been, so this is a building that is made up of a couple different buildings. It's like I said, it's been added onto. And this particular portion was intentionally created as cold storage. It was intentionally not insulated to begin with, but because of the amount of materials coming in increasing and the amount of processing that we're doing, it's creating this need that in the past we hadn't really needed. So that's just as a point of clarification that it was intentionally cold storage before, and now we're looking to get that in so we can use that as internal processing and internal storage space that's usable.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the commissioners?
Yeah, Brian, has this gone through the building committee?
Not yet. It hasn't. I was going to talk about it at our next meeting. That was part of the reason I postponed, because I wasn't quite ready to bring that forward yet.
Okay, not a problem. And again, just a reminder, this is just to get an idea of what it'll cost. So with that, I will make a motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Dukirk.
Second, Commissioner Mills.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim is aye. Thank you, Tim and Brian. Brian, then we'll go on to county fleet purchase, sale and reallocation. We received some information on that. We need to approve a purchase here. So I'll turn it to you again, Brian.
Yes, we're looking at upgrading the recycle center pickup for hauling the trailers and going to the remote sites to bring in those big trailers. The truck that we have is a 3/4 ton, but it doesn't handle these new heavier trailers as well as could be. So what I'd like to do is to look for a used 1-ton pickup that would handle the trailers better. And then I would move this recycled pickup into the assessor's office, because I don't know if I think we've talked about this before, that their escapes just don't have the ground clearance to get into their remote sites that they need to get into. So I would like to move the recycle pickup to the assessors and then take the assessor's escape and move that into the public health to give them a newer vehicle that is better for COVID transports. The one that they have now has 130 some thousand miles on it, and it's getting old and tired.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments for this agenda item?
Commissioner, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, I'll recognize our county administrator. I saw his hand first, Commissioner Mills, so I'll refer to him and to you. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Chairman Bershheim. I just want to say, I'm really behind our moving and getting a new truck. I was really concerned to hear that the truck that they're currently using when they pull the heavy trailers feels very loose. And as a matter of staff safety, I think it's really important that we upgrade this vehicle to make sure that they can do their work in a safe manner. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And is a new vehicle for the recycle center, is that in our budget, or where are we thinking this is coming from? Over.
We do have the car fund, which has enough money to purchase a vehicle, but also Tim has a surplus fund. I'm not exactly sure what that is, for equipment and things like that. So it could come out of either or, and both are able to accept that.
Thank
Tim
you. Yeah.
Nelson? Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead and finish, Commissioner Mills, and then I'll turn it over to Tim.
Yeah. Well, if Tim has some more info, that's fine. I'll bite my tongue.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Tim,
thank you,
go
Mr. Chair,
ahead.
Commissioner Mills. Just as a point of clarification, we do have this fund that is aside that we had placed for future landfill development, and that is where I've always drawn from quite judiciously, since I've had that for 20 years now, to be able to replace equipment that hadn't been specifically budgeted. No, this truck wasn't budgeted, but over the course of time, probably 3 some odd years ago, maybe even more than that, as I was drawing out of this fund, the commissioners encouraged me to go ahead and budget money back into that fund on an annual basis to keep that fund alive and going. And I have been doing that. So that fund is more than flush to be able to take care of this particular purchase for the truck. And it would have no impact then on the budget.
Okay. Any other comments on that, Commissioner Mills, or?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Brian and Tim, for the info. And of course, I certainly want to keep everyone safe. And if the current vehicle is not adequately performing, then it sounds like we should do that. And I appreciate Brian looking for a used one. This could also, again, tie into a couple of larger discussions, one of which is the potential of fleet services, and the other is just the making sure that we're meeting the demands of the public with the recycling facility, and so my understanding, if we do go down the fleet services route, is that any of the vehicles we do have would, their value would just get put back into, we would get the value back. And so I feel pretty comfortable, going after this particular need, knowing that we can get it back if we go down the fleet services route. So I do have concerns drawing from the kind of that general equipment fund, but I also have concerns about not having other money set aside. So I think that's probably the best course of action at this point. But thank you for bringing this forward, and I can support it. Over.
Okay, Commissioner Dukirk, any comments?
Yep, I don't have any issues with this. I would prefer to see it come out of the fleet fund just because it's there and we have it, and keeps it cleaner. And then we also want to protect that landfill fund. I know that Tim says it's flush, but I also know that things happen, things break, things rust. Maybe Brian can use that landfill fund for the cold storage that will no longer be cold storage. So I got two nodding heads there. So that's really nice when they agree with me, and they're not just agreeing because I'm a commissioner. They are actually very compatible, well-working employees. Look at them, thumbs up. Gosh, made you guys smile today. So with that, motion to approve from the fleet fund.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Dukirk to purchase this out of the fleet fund. Do we have support?
Second from Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills, for the second, and we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim is aye, passes unanimously. Thank you, Brian and Tim.
Thank you.
We'll move on. I guess I'll just ask at this time if Mike Keyport is available for his report, or should we move on to highway? I guess he isn't. So
I see, I'm sorry, Commissioner Bersheim, I do see Mike's name on the screen, but I'm not sure. Mike, can you hear us? If you can, we cannot hear you.
yeah, I don't see anything like mute or anything on it, just a
Right.
placeholder. Okay.
Sorry about that.
Well, we'll go to the highway. We did delay the 10-year transportation plan at a previous meeting. And at this time, we have before us the decision that we approve the document with the changes that were proposed previously. And then we could finalize this plan. Highway Engineer Haas is with us. Do you have anything else to add, or should I just open it up for discussion?
We can open it up for discussion if you guys would just, I can just kind of tell you what the responses we got back. If you have any questions, it wasn't anything major. I guess I'll let you guys lead the charge.
Okay. Was there a general?
I can run down a bullet point list. What's
sure,
that?
no,
I'm
was there
sorry.
general agreement with the plan, or was there some areas that seemed to come up as a pattern?
Oh, no, generally speaking, it was fine. The stuff that got changed was I updated the project list to better reflect what we're doing next year and in the coming years. There were a couple errors in some of the tables of roads saying they were gravel when they were paved, or paved and gravel, or both. That some folks caught and that I caught going through it again. I added another appendix to just show all the public input. If it was emails that I received, I tried to make a summary list if I just got phone calls. I'm trying to think what else we did. That was kind of the big stuff. I took out a couple of tables that were just confusing or didn't have any descriptions on them. The one in particular was a trail crossings map. When I started to go through and look at, try and figure out which trails, some of them were apparent, like the Superior Hiking Trail or Gitchigami, but some of them were forest roads, and then some of them weren't any trails that I could find. So I'm not sure where that data was taken from. And so a community member had made a comment about that, so I just got rid of it. And the last thing was with the census breakdown, where we had all of Cook County, and then we broke down west, east, Hoveland, Portage and whatever. Somebody had made a comment that the data for Hoveland was confusing. And so I looked at it and I agree. The data that was there was showing like, a population of 200 people had a commute time of 10 minutes to work. Well, 10 minutes from Hoveland doesn't really get you anywhere. So I'm not sure where that information was coming from. So what we included in the packet was the track changes document. So you can see everything that I changed. And it's there. If you're fine with it, I can go through and approve it, or I can accept it, and then the document will change. But that's really about it for that. Does anybody have any comments?
Okay, none from Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills, any comments? I can't.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Robbie. And yeah, boy, I'm really happy that we put this out there again to receive more comments, and I'm really thankful for the residents who did find those errors and helped rectify them. And thank you, Robbie, for your willingness to do that too, and go through it again. And I think it's a wonderful addition to have that appendix with public comments. I think that's a really good step for our transparency. And all in all, I'm really impressed with the plan. So thank you for your work there. Over.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve our 10-year transportation plan.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. Support?
Second from Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Roll call vote. Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye, passes unanimously. Thank you, Robbie, for all your great work, and for the department that did some of the legwork before you, or a lot of it. And it's great to have this plan. It's important going forward, and especially how we are presenting it to the public. And we gave it proper scrutiny, I think, by all levels. Okay, with that, then we'll go to the South Shore Drive speed study. I believe we talked about this in committee. And so it has gone through a committee process, and I'll just turn it over to our highway engineer for any other comments at this time on that. And we'll.
Sure. So we had sent out a letter to everybody that lives or that has a home or residence on South Shore Drive, just asking if they wanted a speed study performed. Right now, it's a statutory 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. I think over time, what has happened is that has become a very populated area. And given that the new construction that's just there recently paved it, I think some folks were concerned about people traveling fast. So I had gotten a couple of comments regarding that. So we had sent out a letter asking if folks generally had wanted the speed limit lowered. We got a lot of responses on it, actually. So I got more on the speed study than I did on the transportation plan. And so, it's probably 30 plus responses. I think I got 4 or 5 folks that said they didn't want us to do it. And so, which I appreciated. That's why we do this. I want everybody's opinion. And so there's overwhelmingly in favor of it. And so what the plan is then is obviously if this goes through and gets approved, is we send a formal request to MnDOT to come out here and perform a speed study. What that involves is they actually just come out here and kind of look at the road geometry, driveways, how many there are along the road, and decide whether or not 55 miles an hour is appropriate. We don't get to pick if it goes down. They could even say it could increase. So that's kind of the risky run. But this is kind of to make it an official regulated speed limit. So we'll just kind of, obviously, like I said, if this goes through, we'll send out a request to them and they come through and decide what the speed limit would be. They're about a year behind in performing these. So I'm not sure if at this point it would be next fall or if it would be 2 years at this point, just because we're already coming into the winter season. Depends on their schedule, but in the next year or so, they would come out and perform this.
Okay. Thank you. Any comments? I'll start with Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Abby, for the summary. Just generally speaking, did the people that didn't want, were there reasons given for why not to do the speed study for those who didn't want it?
Sure. Generally, it was, trying to think back on it, I think most of it was they just felt comfortable enough going 55, or, they said 50, 55. They didn't want to take any longer getting to Grand Marais, and trying to remember what else. I think that was about it.
Okay. And so, and maybe I missed it just in the summary here. Was that about the yeah, so when you asked if people wanted a different speed, was that about the same ratio as those who wanted a speed study done? No. So I got a little over 30 replies about this, whether email or phone call, and I only had about 4 folks say they did not want a speed study. So yeah, so it was overwhelming. It wasn't even close. If it was 50-50, we'd sit here and, well, no, sorry, I guess my question wasn't clear. So there weren't 2 questions posed versus like lowering it and a speed study. It was just the one question when
correct.
You did reach. Okay, yeah. Sorry,
yeah, so perform a speed study to lower the speed limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Yep. That's all I got. Over.
Thank you. Any comments, Commissioner Dukert?
Nope, I had the same question as Dave. And so can we just, I don't know at what rate, but just keep the people on South Shore Drive in the loop if it's going to take a year or 2, and just the history, their road was supposed to be repaired like 3 years ago and they had waited 5 years for that. So they might have run out of patience a couple of years ago, and then their project wasn't finished in one season. So not that they should get special attention or that they're any more special than anyone else in Cook County. You're all special and your roads are all wonderful, but these folks have put up with a lot over the last few years. So
for what it's worth, in the letter that we sent, I did mention it would take a year to do this. And then if I talk to anybody, and I think I tried to, at least in all my responses to people, say like, this is a year behind. And so, I tried to get the word out on that the best I could too. So yeah, if this goes through and we send a thing to MnDOT, I think I can either send out another letter or maybe post something on the Highway Department's website or something along those lines to try and get the word out again.
Yeah, Highway Department website would be fine. Just an
Okay.
update, and even, WTIP saying the county commissioners did approve this study. So please be patient. Awesome.
Sure.
Thank you. With that, I'll make the motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Dukert. Do we have support?
Second, Commissioner Mills.
Okay, roll call vote. Commissioner Dukert,
Aye.
Commissioner Mills,
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye, passes unanimously.
Mr.
We'll
Chair.
go on to street signs.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Oh, excuse me. Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Mills.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, this is somewhat, I guess this is still just on topic of the speed studies and highway speeds and speed limits. And Robbie's entertained me a little bit in the past on this, but I've had residents concerned back when we had the detour on County Road 7 just about the speed limit, especially as we get closer to town. And I guess it's just generally speaking, is that the process that would be necessary is to have MnDOT do a speed study on a particular stretch of road if we wanted to get things changed, because as you said, developments happen and road use changes, and so I think some residents' concerns have been amplified because of the detour, but I think they stand just because of more and more homes being built along the road there.
Are you talking specifically about 7 there, Highway 7?
Yeah, well, I guess in particular
General?
that's what the concerns have been, but I just, for good process, is that what we would need to do is a speed study for that route if we wanted to address that?
Correct. And the speed study, just so, you try and make it, I guess, clear for everybody, is MnDOT just comes out and looks at the road specifically. They could raise it, is a very, very real option. So all it is, MnDOT kind of has these criteria MnDOT sets speed limits. I'll just start with that. And so we as the county are very limited on what we can do to adjust speed limits. If it's a school speed zone, we have some authority to do that, which is nice. That's kind of getting into a different topic. But as far as your general speed limits are concerned, we can submit a request to MnDOT to come out. And so what they do is then, kind of take the wide lens of setting general speed limits and come in and look specifically at a road. There's no guarantee that it could get lowered, it could get raised, and it could stay the same. So that's just kind of something to keep in mind, especially with 7 and how, yeah, I know 55 and some people, some folks think that might be too fast. Some folks might think it's too slow. I know the shoulders on 7 have gotten bigger over the years. And so, if they came back and said, well, actually the speed limit's 60, we can't do anything about it after that. So it's just something to keep in mind. They could lower it too, I don't know, but it is something to consider.
Yeah, thank you. And I guess more of the feedback I've gotten is right at the city limit. And so I don't know if that is a factor in how things are determined, if it's within city limits or not, or just if it's density based, or I'm sure MnDOT has a formula as they do for most things. But yeah, I didn't have too many concerns about changing it permanently throughout County Road 7, but more just right near the city limits there, or even in the limits. So is that any different?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, just
okay.
Because like I said, that's kind of MnDOT's thing.
Yep.
But we can, if you want, we can chat about it some more later
Yep.
in regards to the city limits, and maybe there is something there. I kind of just dig into this stuff on a case by case basis. So
yeah,
the
we'll
city
get
limits
there.
is a new one.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. We'll go to street sign installation and maintenance, and this is for information only, not for decisions. We received a PDF, and we've talked about this a little bit in previous years, I think, as I recall. So would you like to give us an update on that right now?
Yeah. So now I can see Mike's over on James' camera, so he can appreciate this. We decided that, so I think normally how it's been is Mike's been in charge, or emergency management, of street signs and your 911 signs, so the address signs. And then the highway department is in charge of every other sign. And so kind of seems a little silly that that's what we're doing. And so ideally, and talking internally at the highway department, I feel like we should, if we're already doing 98% of the signs, why don't we do them all? And so I think what we're going to do is take over, we had spoken with Mike as well, take over the street signs for now. And And as far as installation and maintenance, we'll be taking care of those from now on. The creation of them, as far as naming them and whatever, will still remain, with the respective people. But as far as putting them up and maintaining them, that will now be in the highway department's realm.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, and this is sort of the product of years of discussing. This has been sort of a ping pong going back and forth. So thank you for offering a resolution on that. And any questions or comments about this? I see Commissioner Mills, do you have a comment?
No, I appreciate the efforts there, and yeah, just let us know if there's any hiccups or if there's any unforeseen challenges there. But thank you for taking it on. Over.
Then I see Mike has joined the room. So would Mike like to make his report at this time before we go to the auditor? I believe that the auditor cannot join us until, no, that's our county attorney. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. If I could just add on to Robbie's comments about the signage there. I was just doing the math. Josh wanted costs for this year just so he could have an estimate. And it's going to run, what we spent this year was right around $1,500 for signs, posts, and the contractor I used to install them. So not a huge lot of money in.
Okay.
My COVID update the Emergency Operations Center, of course, remains open. I still meet with the state bi-weekly. As a matter of fact, I meet with the state this afternoon. Governor Walz is expected to announce what he's calling restrictions today. We don't really know what that means, but we'll find out this afternoon. Our region continues to meet every week now, and I think I've spoke to this before, but we have the capability through an Everbridge notification system. So we can call a meeting at any time. Like, for example, if the governor this afternoon decides to make some drastic changes, we can call a meeting on a minute's notice should it affect us on a regional level. So, but around the region, there are concerns of deer hunting shacks and, of course, the upcoming holidays. So, like ourselves, the other counties are getting cases more and more and more. So we're in the middle of this. The CDC has came out just yesterday. I haven't had a time to look through it yet, but they came out with I would say updated guidelines for EMS, ambulance, firefighters, all responders. So we'll make sure, of course, that everybody in the county that needs that information will get that out to them. Kind of a non-COVID thing this week is Weather Hazard Awareness Week, and we got some snow coming, so that's very fitting. Lastly, I would just echo what some of you commissioners have said, that good decision making upcoming as the holidays and everything comes is just key. I think not only for us as decision makers, but for individuals in our county and our communities to just make good decisions out there. And they're not going to be popular maybe, and they're not going to be easy to make, but I think we all need to keep it in the back of our minds. That's what I have for you folks today.
Okay, any questions or comments for Mike? Thank you, Mike. None from Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mike, for the update. I don't have any questions or comments right now.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks again, Mike, for all you do. And yes, it's so important that we take the holidays coming up very seriously. It's going to make a big difference in how we conduct ourselves and how we interact with other people. We'll go to the auditor for item A will be election municipality cares grant agreement. I know this is something that the auditor has proposed to us as sort of a very a technical kind of thing that may help us in the long run by doing it the right way. So I'll turn that over to Auditor Powers.
Good morning, Chair. So just some background. The state had granted the county $6,977.14 of CARES funds specifically for elections. And you approved that grant on August 17th. The grant allows for allocation to the city or any municipality. In our case, that's the city of Grand Marais. So based on an agreement with the city, and if there was no agreement reached with the city by September 8th, under the agreement that we approved, then a set amount of $1,199.37 was automatically to be granted to the municipality, the city in this case. On September 2nd, the city, by email, Mike Roth and the Mayor Jay agreed to no allocation since they have a minimal role in elections, having delegated that to the county, many decades ago prior to my coming here. So that agreement, of course, was by email. The state has since, just in the last week, said that they would like it formalized in agreement. So this is the attached agreement. And the agreement, if you read down, there's a section there on financial. So the allocation says 0 in the municipality agreement. I've sent the same to the city for their approval. And I'll be sending them a report on the expenditures so they can see how that $6,900 was spent. They'll reduce their allocation since under that agreement, the city, the towns, the hospital, and the schools all share in election costs. So that reduces the extra election costs. That's $6,900. So I also, the state wanted that agreement approved by resolution. And while I've been listening this morning, I created a resolution. I just sent it out to you, and I sent it to April. She'll put it on as an attachment. So with that, I'd ask for any questions. And if not, approval of the municipality agreement by resolution.
Okay, any questions or comments, Commissioner Mills? I see Commissioner Dukirk has none. Commissioner Mills, comments, questions?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, entertain a motion then to approve this resolution.
So moved, Commissioner Mills.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Support?
Support.
Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. A roll call vote. Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye, passes unanimously. We'll go to airport grant for crack sealing and seal coating.
Yeah, so I got the grant application from RSNH a few days ago and added it on here. So this is an application, not the actual grant itself or any of the contracts. There was a time deadline on the application. So I'm not even sure, Heidi, that the whole airport commission has, say, voted on this. I think it was a committee that looked at it and decided to go forward with the sealing and seal coating. And this will go to the full committee, but they need to get this application in because of the FAA guidelines. So it's just an application at this point. But as you can see on the attachment, it's fairly substantial. It's for crack sealing, seal coating, the apron, and the rest of the runway, which is necessary. We do this every few years in order to maintain the pavement. It's under there, I think it's 159,000 or so is the the total cost of this. So there'll be a grant approved for this that'll cover 90% FAA. And we'll be looking at if there are any other options for the 10%. The 10% is about $20,000, which would be the local share. I think possibly the airport CARES grant could be used for this. I'm not sure if there are any other options, but we'll have time between the application, the approval of the grant, to determine what other funding there might be to help us cover that 10% local cost. Are there any questions?
Okay. Comments or questions on this application for the federal grant? Commissioner Dukirk?
Yeah, Brady, you are correct. There has not been a formal approval by the board, but much like the highway department, we have continual maintenance and things that we have on our plan that we need to address. And crack sealing is just one of those things that you need to address. It's just like maintaining your bicycle, you've got to do annual tune-ups. So I have no concerns or worries about the board approving this or being in support of it on the airport commission. So that's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills, comments?
I think it's important to capture the federal grants when we can, and so I would move to approve the application.
Okay, and do we have support?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. We got a motion by Commissioner Mills and second by Commissioner Dukirk to approve the application for a federal grant. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim? Aye. Passes unanimously. Then we'll move on to the Grand Marais Library Board, an appointment of Sue McCullen. Anything to add on that, Auditor Powers?
No, Mr. Chair. That's you can see the application, the details there. This would have been on the consent agenda, I think, since it was the only applicant. I was late getting these in, distracted with the election, so they had to be on the action part of the agenda. So, yeah, just if anybody has any questions.
Okay, could I get a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Mills.
Thank you. Support?
Support.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Mills, support by Commissioner Dukirk. Roll call vote. Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye. Passes unanimously. And thanks to Sue for her willingness to serve on our Grand Marais Library Board, which is a joint powers agreement.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Brady, just on the topic of applications for boards, it's been brought to my attention with our online application process. You can only apply when a position is open. So I don't know if this is for you or the administrator's office, but I would like citizens to be able to apply for any board at any time and have those records available. And when a position opens, to contact those citizens and let them know. We have had issues in the past with getting citizens to apply and having people available and having only one applicant. And I am aware that there's a citizen that is very interested in participating and hasn't been able to apply, and we don't have any other process. So I see that Mr. Yorkie is writing down very fervently there, so he will take care of this. That's all I had.
Thank you. We'll go to the Firewise service agreement.
So, Mr. Chair, this is a request from our administrator, Todd. There were a couple of piles, 3 or 4 piles of brush that have been left over from an earlier project in the Hungry Jack area that they just discovered. And they have a little time window here in the late fall when he could get these burned. The money is still there in the Hungry Jack federal grant, no match. So this is a perfect opportunity. And he's got a contractor willing to do the work. And so this is a request to approve that. About $1,000, I think, is the total service contract to clean up those old brush piles.
Okay, any comments, or otherwise I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you. We have a motion by Commissioner Dukirk. Support?
Second by Commissioner Mills.
Support by Commissioner Mills. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk?
Aye.
Commissioner Mills?
Aye.
Commissioner Bershheim's aye, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And we'll thank you, Auditor Powers, for all you do. And thanks for all and to you and your staff for a tremendous week. I'm sure it's a relief to be through it with the election. Did a remarkable job, and you have remarkable people to get it done. And so thank you so much for all you do.
I would say, I would echo that about staff and the judges.
Good.
The people had reason to be concerned, but you have to count the elections. It's so important. And, those people took a risk.
Sure.
That came and worked, and most of them did a really good job of staying safe at the same time, following all the guidelines. But they did a great job. And so did the citizens in coming out to vote in advance. We were not overrun at our polling places or in the auditor's office. It was just a tribute to people listening, looking out for themselves and looking out for each other.
Good. Okay, we'll go on to administrator. The first item is to utilize a virtual only format for the 2020 Truth and Taxation. And there's a recommendation that we should make a finding that it would be imprudent to allow in-person participation on the December 1, 2020 Truth and Taxation public meeting. Administrator Yorkey, I'll turn it over to you for any other comments.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, Commissioners. Before I get into this item, I see that County Attorney Molly Hicken has joined us, and she asked to be put on the agenda late because she had a number of business things to take care of this morning.
Sure.
And I just wanted to ask if it would be helpful to her if we put her report before mine.
Okay, good suggestion. Attorney Hicken, would you like to start your report now and in your agenda items?
Thank you. I actually no longer need, I no longer have special scheduling needs because that 10:30 telephone conference was moved to this afternoon.
Great,
Okay.
great.
Well, then
Okay.
we'll go back to you, Administrator.
Thanks so much. And again, good morning. Before I get into this item, I just wanted to say that I really concur with Commissioner Dukirk about needing those applications for boards and committees to be open at all times. I think it's really important to create an open channel for residents to participate in county processes. So that's something that I will follow up on and report back to you at the next meeting. So the item regarding the Truth and Taxation hearing, as Grace Grenager pointed out earlier in the meeting, things have really changed for us in terms of number of new positive cases. I only wrote this agenda last week, and since then we've had 2 new cases. So as she said, 36 cases in the county since the pandemic began. Our positivity rate has gone up to over 11%. Which is really concerning. It's a clear indication that we have community spread going on. And so the reason this is on your agenda is historically, of course, we have had the Truth and Taxation meeting as an in-person meeting where folks come to the commission room and are heard and they have a chance to present their testimony. Because of the pandemic this year and the spread that we know is going on in the community, I wanted to bring before you the proposal that we look to make this a virtual hearing only. And I want to say a few things about public participation because that's really important. The Minnesota statutes, Chapter 13D, Section 21, provides for the presiding officer of the Board of County Commissioners, the chief legal counsel, i.e. the county attorney, or myself, to determine that holding an in-person meeting would not be practical or prudent because of a public health emergency. So any one of the three of us could unilaterally do that, but I felt it was important to bring this to the board for discussion and for the community to hear the reasons why we want to move with making this virtual hearing only. So again, with the transmission going on in the community, I think there's a compelling reason for us to make this a virtual meeting only this year. And again, I'm a firm believer in resident citizen participation in public processes. And so there are three ways that people would still be able to participate in this year's hearing, which will be held on December 1st. The first way would be to participate via Zoom meeting. And we will be publicizing a link after this meeting, after this board approves this proposal, so that people can sign in and participate by video and audio to give their testimony virtually. For those who cannot do that, if you don't have a computer or perhaps live off the grid, we would also welcome participation by telephone. That would give you the same opportunity to present your concerns about the proposed levy increase. And then the last way, if you can neither participate by computer or by phone, I would invite people to contact me personally. I have included my email address in this agenda item and also my direct line. I always welcome folks to call me with any concerns they have about anything related to county government operations. So that is the proposal, and we will be again publicizing the links for folks to participate. And if we do go to a virtual only format, we're going to be spending some extra time working with local media, with WTIP, with Cook County Herald to make sure that people are aware of how they can participate, and for them, if they can't participate in person, to submit their testimony in advance so that their concerns can be considered. So that's what I have for this item, and I would entertain any questions you might have.
Thanks for all your work on this, and definitely safety is maybe the most important thing we can do. Questions, comments from other commissioners on this? None from Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills, comments, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, James, for the proposal. I think it is important to do this virtually. I do want to make sure, and I think you've covered it quite well, but I do want to make sure that all voices are heard. And so having the live Zoom is an excellent way, and then having telephone being the second option is good, and then also contacting you and either having email or a written letter or however citizens would like to express themselves, I think is very important. And I just want to point out that if doing this by Zoom, I think we need to have a real strong system in place to make sure that everyone is recognized and heard who would like to speak during the virtual conference. And so I trust that our staff would be working on that and figuring out how to do that. I know a moderator may not always see everyone on the screen at the same time, so just having a systematic way to go through every window and allowing people to speak, it can be challenging, but it can be done. So thank you for addressing this, and I think with proper planning we can do it well. Over.
Thank you. I would look for, okay, yes, Administrator.
I just wanted to add, Mr. Chairman, that I appreciate Commissioner Mills' concerns about making sure that the technology works so that people can participate adequately. We are going to be doing a couple of things to ensure that. One is to do a dry run of the meeting beforehand using county staff or perhaps members of our Budget Advisory Committee to just make sure that the connections are working, that people can get in and speak their piece. The other thing is that we are going to be having somebody serve as moderator for this, so that nobody on the commission and none of the staff principals have to worry about that, so they can fully engage in the discussion and not have to worry about whether things are working or not.
Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion to determine the finding to have this truth and taxation hearing by virtual.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Dukirk, support.
Second, Commissioner Mills.
Thank you. Commissioner Dukirk, a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Yorkie, in the past, we've had the assessor's office in the outside of the room in order to address, because every single year people are confused by what truth in taxation is. So if we could somehow maybe just set up a separate Zoom meeting, I know that requires a separate account, but having the ability to send people to another room somehow, if we can do that, just something to consider, because we will probably get that again. And I know we'll be looking at comments prior. And then also at the beginning, if the moderator can let the public know that the chat feature is off. So if they have questions, that's not the way to do it. And that's all I've got, but this will be interesting.
Okay,
Sure.
then we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Mills.
Thank you. Yeah, and those are, I think Commissioner Dukirk brought up some excellent points, and a couple others came to mind. It hasn't been the case in our county board meetings, but in other virtual meetings, and I believe it's via Zoom, oftentimes, that one of the challenges can be just the whole muting, not muting situation. And I just want everyone to be aware of that. If a person were to call in on telephone, you can't necessarily just click unmute on your screen, right? It's on the phone. But there is a function within Zoom that you dial, I think it's like *6 to mute and unmute. But also the moderator needs to be aware of that. So there's just some technical things that, you know, when we do have video capabilities, it's one thing, but then if there's phone-ins, it's another. So maybe staff is totally aware of that, but I just wanted to bring it up in case not. So that was all. Over.
Yes, Administrator Yorkie.
Yes, thanks for that concern, Commissioner Mills, and I agree that's an issue. We have been talking about how to manage the meeting so that muting doesn't pose barriers or create challenges for people who are participating in the meeting. The moderator would have the ability to mute all, but individual participants on Zoom and callers would have the ability to unmute themselves. For the phone callers, they would need to have the awareness that *6 is how you do that. But it's important because, you know, a lot of times people, they may not be aware that they're not muted and there's background noise going on. And I think we've all been in Zoom meetings where that really interferes with the discussion. So, you know, we would initially mute all for the presentations by the auditor and myself. And then after that, for the open discussion, we would, again, keep everybody muted, but let people unmute themselves as their turn comes to speak. So I appreciate that there are a lot of complexities in how this operates, but we are tackling those issues. And to the extent that there are any problems left when we do the dry run, hopefully we can address those and have a smooth hearing on December 1st.
Thank you. Okay, roll call. Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Dukirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim, aye. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Any other updates from us, Administrator Yorkie?
Yes, just a few things. Just wanted to update you on a few things that I'm working on. In addition to the many small fires that pop up every day, some of the bigger issues right now. We are just a couple of weeks out, really, from, well, actually about 3 weeks out from needing to spend down our remaining CARES funding. And Brady Powers and I have been reaching out to folks who have been involved in developing that spending plan, including Allison McIntyre at PHHS. And yesterday we spoke with Mary Somnus at the EDA to talk about where they are in spending down those dollars. We really don't want to leave anything on the table, of course. And there are still some expenses that have not been invoiced, and all of those need to be turned in and paid out by the end of this month in order to be reimbursed. So if we don't turn in those expenses, then we're in the position of potentially having to turn back funding, and we really don't want to do that. I also want to just recognize all the folks who've been such good partners in working with the county to develop a plan for allocating these resources in a way that provides the greatest benefit to the community. And those people include, of course, Mary Somnus, who's been really helpful in getting those dollars out into the business community, as well as Jim Boyd, who's been really helpful with that. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Rena Rogers, who has really been a strong leader from the beginning. These folks, we were talking about this yesterday. We started the planning for spending these dollars back in June, which is a really short amount of time, and it's $730,000. And I think the plan that the committee came up with to spend these funds was really well thought out. Really had the impact to spread the dollars throughout the community. And I'm sure there are other folks on the committee who have failed to mention. My apologies for that. But it's been a great collaborative community effort. And it's the kind of thing that when I was thinking about accepting this position, I could see that kind of collaboration was already happening in the community. And I think that's the way things have to work. If we're going to be the best, strongest community that we can be in providing opportunities for everybody, that kind of collaboration has to take place. And I'm really gratified that it has. And so kudos to all of the folks who have been part of that process. The other things that I wanted to make you aware of is that I'm also working on some longer term things that will be coming before you in the coming weeks and months. And a lot of what I'm doing right now is just kind of going through information that's already been developed, things that you've heard about in the past, including the fleet planning issue that was mentioned earlier in this meeting. There is an opportunity to move from an owned fleet model to a leased fleet model. And that's something that we're going to be exploring. Brady and Brian Silence and I met on that recently. And we are going to be collecting vehicle utilization data from this year, comparing it to previous years to figure out what is the utilization of the fleet right now. Obviously, this year with COVID has been different from all preceding years. And so there's going to be an effort to look at what vehicles do we have, how are we using them, and is the fleet right-sized for the organization's needs? And if not, what does the fleet need to look like? And then also what benefits might we gain from going into a leased arrangement with a vendor? Another thing that we're going to be looking at, and this relates to the insulation item that we talked about for the recycling center, is looking at our facilities, which I know we did an assessment a couple of years ago of our main buildings, and I'm reviewing that information now. But we really need to have a facilities master plan that takes into account not only the current condition and age of our buildings, but also future usage patterns. And that relates, of course, as everything seems to COVID and the fact that we have a lot more folks working from home now. And that might speak to a need in the future to have less office space. And so that's the kind of thing that I'm going to be digging into in the coming weeks, and probably coming to you in a committee of the whole setting to talk about where we are with analyzing our facilities and figuring out what we need to do to come up with a master plan so that we can plan for capital expenditures related to buildings in the future. And then overarching and including all of that is a strategic plan. We have had discussions about strategic planning in the past, I know, but we really need to, especially at this point where a lot of things have changed, behooves us to start thinking and talking about what the county's strategic plan for the next 5 years would look like. And as I mentioned earlier, engaging a lot of folks, not just the commissioners and not just staff, but really folks in the community in that discussion is going to be really important. And so that's something that I'm working on and starting to develop a plan for that process. And I guess I'll pause there to see if there are any questions.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments for our administrator? Commissioner Mills?
Mr. Chair, yeah. Thank you, and thank you, James, for the update and the idea of what things lie ahead. Are we going to be using the committee of the whole, the next committee of the whole, or are we just kind of put that on hold for now?
Yeah, so I was contemplating that yesterday and this morning. I'm not sure that I'm ready to bring any of this forward just yet. I did ask the MAT team if they had any items that needed to go on that agenda next week, and I didn't get any response. So I'm leaning toward foregoing next week's committee of the whole. And as I've said many times, I've never broken anyone's heart by canceling a meeting. So I think that would be my proposal, unless anybody on the commission wishes to discuss something next week.
Okay.
Myself, I'm comfortable with of canceling the next one, and I do appreciate Administrator Yorkie that you're taking time to prepare for a productive work session. So I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of work that's gone on already in those areas with the fleet and with facilities, and I just want to make sure I have a chance to digest all that information before we have that conversation.
Commissioner Dukirk?
I have a super crazy idea because, I like to have those. What about inviting our new elects to sit down with us old timers and get to know each other and talk about moving ahead? Give it an hour. Instead of them just coming in cold in January and not seeing the history and the forethought and what we've been working on for so long. I know that they're both very well engaged, but a nice handoff would be good.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that, Administrator Yorkie?
Yeah, and that's another thing, I didn't mention it, but doing an orientation for the new commissioners is also on my agenda. That's something that in my former employment with Johnson County, Kansas, we would sit down with the new commissioners and give them an overview of the work of the various departments. And I think that is really important to creating an understanding of the organization, how things work, what the different programs are. But I can also see benefit in having, the current commission sit down with the new members if that's the will of this group. So if I can help facilitate that, if that's your decision, I'd be happy to do that.
Yeah, I would like to comment that I've reached out to Stacy Hawkins to meet with her at any time that she would like and answer any questions, especially about committees. A lot of it is so individual, but I'm open that if we should have a general discussion. I don't know. I haven't thought about the pros and cons that much. I guess that's something we could talk about more. Commissioner Mills, do you have any comments on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Commissioner Dukirk, for that idea. I think it's a great idea. I don't know clearly the new elects schedules and if that would work, or if they feel that would be an appropriate format, as it is a public meeting, and learning happens in many different ways. I would be very open to it, but would really want to respect the newly elected's wishes there, if that would be helpful for them, or if, as Commissioner Bersheim said, a one-on-one would be more helpful. But I'd be very supportive of that if that was viewed as beneficial by them.
I think maybe Administrator Yorkie, if you would reach out to those newly electeds and just have a little, maybe you've already have a little informal conversation about some of the options that we're talking about here, and get their input and then get back to us.
I will do that.
Thank you. All right.
Absolutely. I'll do that today.
Good idea. It's worth pursuing.
Commissioner Bersheim?
Yes.
Just a note for the public, if this meeting doesn't happen, this isn't in any way a newly elected or one of us stopping the process. It's a week out. It might not happen. I don't want anyone to think that us currently seated or those in the future are not interested in communication. Just throwing that out there because it is such short notice. So just a little reminder of giving people grace.
Good point. Good point.
Thank you.
I would also offer, I think it would be, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I think it would be important if we do have that meeting, if Commissioner Storley could be there as well. I think it's important to have all four commissioners present.
Sure. Okay, well, we could address that later. We'll go on to our county attorney. I think, are we ready for that, Administrator Yorkie, for your part? Very good. Attorney Hicken has two agenda items. The first one is the 6th District of Minnesota Judicial Branch Grand Juries in COVID-19. We talked about this in a previous meeting, and Attorney Hicken has done some more work on that. And some of our concerns that were expressed in a previous meeting. And so, but we do need to make a decision on this. So Attorney Hicken, thanks for all your work on this, and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am actually going to request that we flip-flop the two items that are under the attorney heading.
Thank you.
Because I know that we have an interested party. Marjorie Ryan is on the meeting for that vacation item. And
Attorney Hicken, could you turn up your volume a little bit, or I'm not hearing you, but my ears are plugged up. So if you could raise your volume a little bit, or if not, then we'll go ahead.
Mr. Chair, it's not your ears. Molly, your volume is lower. Luckily you have a beautiful face, so if you just move closer.
is this helping?
Yes.
Is this an adequate volume or too high?
It's fine for me, thank you.
Okay. I didn't know I knew how to do that. Okay. Okay. Thank you for the latitude to switch items here. I would like to start with a resolution that I am proposing the commissioners address today, which has essentially, I'm asking for your authority for 3 separate actions, all related to the same property issue. And this property issue involves a platted road on the west end of the county in Lutsen, up by Caribou Lake, called Peninsula Point Drive or Peninsula Point Trail, which is also County Road 38. So everything that I'm talking about today has been discussed both with Robbie Haas and with Tim Nelson of Land Services. This is a problem that was identified in the fall of 2019. And I know that the property owners have diligently been trying to resolve this for the past year. I'm glad that we can finally propose a solution to the commissioners. I'm going to share my screen just so I can describe this problem a bit. I'm going to show you. Okay, so what you should see is titled Sketch of Existing, and this is a survey sketch. Is that what you see?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a survey that was prepared at the expense of the property owner. This is Marjorie and Michael Ryan. Their property is actually owned through an LLC called Ryan Properties of Duluth, LLC. This is what the property interests are currently without your action. You see that rectangle that's identified as Ranger Drive or Peninsula Point Trail. The plat identifies the road in this way. And lot 2 is the other piece of property here that you should pay attention to. Lot 2 is owned by the Ryans, or Ryan Properties of Duluth. You can see that the sketch of the road as it actually lies goes right into lot 2 without any type of legal relationship. Whenever it happened, we don't know when, but it's been many decades, most likely. The road and the way it actually sits meandered onto lot 2, and that is now a county maintained turnaround for Peninsula Point Trail. And the driveway for the Ryan's property was built right on the route for the platted road. So this was discovered when the Ryans submitted a land use application to add an addition to that garage that you see up there. The addition either got too close to that line of the platted road or it went over slightly, and Bill Lane in the Land Services office discovered that as a problem. So I'm going to show you what our suggested change to this is. Do you now see something called a concept sketch? I wish I could make it slightly bigger. This is another survey prepared at the expense of the Ryans. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. What we propose that the commissioners authorize today is to vacate the portion of the platted road that goes above this diagonal line with the number 11597. We would vacate the portion of the road to the north of that diagonal line, and we would give it back to the Ryans. We would convey by quitclaim deed to the Ryans what is north of that road. Those actions, both the vacation of the road and the quitclaim deed, would be conditioned on the Ryans giving the county an easement, which is this area. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but
yes.
The bold line, good. The bold line that crosses over this dash line that is bordered by 45 feet, 70 feet, 75.4. So the Ryans are going to authorize the county to maintain, construct the road on as it lies currently. This is a perpetual and non-exclusive easement so that it could be used by members of the public when they're using the road for the purpose of using that road. And the Ryans have agreed to sign an easement of that form. All of the documents that are in the board's packet today have been shared with the Ryans. I'm gonna now change my screen share to what's in your packet so I can go over the documents that I'm asking the board to approve. Do you now see the resolution
Yes.
Resolution? Okay. So this resolution in the recital paragraphs describes the history of this issue. The final recital paragraph that starts with whereas and includes the 3 points kind of describes our proposal. The county is going to vacate that northerly portion of County Road 38. The land underlying the vacated portion of road is going to be conveyed back to the Ryans. And third, the Ryans are going to grant the county an easement over their land so that we can have that road there in perpetuity, by the way. So that easement runs with the land if the Ryans should sell their property. So the resolution includes these 6 points. The first 3 points include the vacation, which is authorized by Minnesota Statute 16311, and the signing of a quitclaim deed to convey that property under the vacated road back to the Ryans. And to accept the easement by the Ryans, that's number 3 here. And then 4 through 6 are all administrative actions that the county board is directing staff to do. These are a requirement of the vacation of a road. So we need to personally serve the occupants of the land, which is going to be Ryan Properties of Duluth. They shouldn't be surprised to get something in the mail that serves this copy of this resolution after it's made. That the resolution be posted for a period of at least 10 days at the auditor's office, and that the copy of the resolution together with proof of service and affidavit of posting is then filed at in the auditor's office. So there's your resolution. The resolution has Exhibit 1, which describes the vacated road. This is a survey prepared by our county survey. I'm sorry, a property description prepared by our county survey after his review of this survey prepared by the Ryans. Exhibit 2 describes the easement that the Ryans are going to give to the county, along with a sketch. Exhibit 3, this is the quitclaim deed that the county board today would authorize the signing of. There's an error in this as filed with the board packet, in that Ryan Properties of Duluth is not the grantor. Cook County is the grantor. Again, this is what conveys the land underneath that vacated road back to the Ryans. And finally, this is the form of easement that I've drafted for signing by the Ryans. I will stop the share unless we want to go back to any of these documents. We can do that. But I also, given that Marjorie Ryan is on the phone, she didn't say that she would want to add anything, but if she's changed her mind, Mr. Chair, I'd like to give her permission to unmute.
Okay, is there any comments from Marjorie Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't really have anything to add. Thank you. I thought Molly did a great job. Just in case anybody had any questions about history or anything else they might want to talk about this issue. Thanks.
Okay. Well, it seems like a complicated thing, but it's clear to me that you have sort of a simple solution. So thank you for all that work on it. It's I'm sure it's tricky to do all that legal work, and thank you, Margie, for your willingness to cooperate and work with us on this. So with that, I'll open it up for any discussion or questions from commissioners. Commissioner Dukirk's got her hand up.
So this has been going on for a while. Is Commissioner Storley aware of the situation? Okay, good, because usually we defer to the commissioner whose district it impacts.
So what I'm aware of is that is what Marjorie has told me, which is that she invited Commissioner Storley to come to the property, and Commissioner Storley is familiar with the underlying issues. Marjorie, did you have anything to add?
That's correct. Last fall, as soon as this happened, she went to the property. I described it, sent her pictures, and she said she went there right away. It's hard to see, of course, on a flat drawing, but the driveway is we had to cut extensively into the hillside. It's quite a steep property. So the property that the county actually would own, you'd have to go to a lot of expense and trouble to try to cut into a very steep hillside to create that. And it wasn't anything we were trying to, and the part of the property that is the actual turnaround is like the only flat piece of property that we own. But our intention in building the garage was never to create trouble. So, and since this turnaround, my husband's family's owned this since it was developed in 1968, and the turnaround's always been there. So we just felt that putting it as it has always been used what made the most sense.
Okay, and then one other question. Is there a culvert in your driveway?
A culvert? No.
Okay, that's all my questions.
Okay, thank you. And just to follow up on one of your concerns, I did talk to Commissioner Storley last night, and we discussed if there was any issues that she would have with any of the agenda items, and that she was okay with our decisions going forward today.
I also need to absolutely give credit to Jay Squires of Rupp Squires Law Firm, who's an attorney Tim Nelson often works with. He is the one who came up with this solution. I just drafted the documents.
Thank you. It's pretty clever. Commissioner Mills, do you have any comments or questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Attorney Hicken and Ms. Ryan for being here and coming to what looks like a very reasonable solution. Just a couple questions. With the concept sketch, I noticed that the lines drawn are slightly short of the full turnaround, and I just want to make sure there is enough room for a turnaround without encroaching on the Ryan property. That's beyond my knowledge and experience, and so I just want to make sure that it's a practical solution.
I can tell you why that sketch was created that way. Originally we were trying to draw the lines so that I wouldn't have to have a variance on the garage addition. And also because the surveyor and I were trying to make the square footage the same as the old or the existing survey, and he had to elongate it. It's hard to see. I mean, this encompasses more of it than you think on the drawing, but mostly we're just trying to allow for the same square footage, and that encompassed the most of the driveway. And I had Robbie Haas come out and view it and talk about the issue too, and also he brought the plow driver and Charlie, the head of maintenance. So I met with Charlie, the retired head of maintenance, and the new head of maintenance, and Robert Haas at my property, and they all thought it was acceptable, the boundaries that we had drawn. And at that time, they were also marked boundaries. My surveyor had put in the stakes that showed the actual boundaries.
That's very helpful. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's what I was asking exactly. And then the other question I think is maybe for Attorney Hicken, and it's just a language thing. Let's see if I can find it specifically, and it is stated a number of times. In the last recital, number 2. The land underlying the vacated portion of the road shall be conveyed back to Ryan Properties. And that back to Ryan Properties is what I'm asking about, if that's the right language, if that matters, or if it should just be conveyed to Ryan Properties.
I don't think that word is necessary, and I don't think it has any it has much impact, but it may be confusing. And so I am fine deleting that word. I think that just came from how I was thinking about this in my head. So it wound up in our resolution, but I don't. So in a way, it's going back to Ryan Properties in that they've always used it. And now they now have legal authority over that land. But I mean, I think it's more accurate to leave out back. You've identified, you know, something that could cause some confusion. I'm happy to make that change before the resolution is signed.
Thank you. Yeah, and there is another place where I saw that. And that would be in the therefore. I can't remember what that's called, but a number 2 in the therefore as well. Second line, claim deed back to Ryan Properties. Just deed to Ryan Properties, I think. But yeah, that I didn't know if that had legal significance or not. So that's why I was asking. But I think it is a little more straightforward without the word back there. But otherwise, I am very impressed with the work that's been done and reaching out to the multiple departments and using the resources of Jay Squires. I'm very thankful for everyone coming to a good agreement here. So I'm very supportive of it. Over.
Okay, Commissioner Dukirk, are you comfortable with the language of removing back and the other correction? I am as well. Thank you, Commissioner Mills, for catching that. And if it has more clarity for everyone, that's good. Any other comments or questions on this before I ask for approval of the resolution? Okay, I'd entertain a motion then to approve this resolution.
Commissioner Mills, I move to approve the resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Mills. Support?
Commissioner Dukirk, second.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Dukirk. Roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Margie, for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
We'll move on then to the 6th District of Minnesota Judicial Branch grand juries during the COVID pandemic. This was a previous item that we discussed, and so I'll turn it over to Attorney Hicken to see if she would like to comment on any additional research or work that you've done on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This was addressed in September. Hopefully you all remember the basics of that conversation, which is that a grand jury is kind of a rarity in our county. We've had one in 2012 and 2009, and I'm not sure when the last one was before then, but 2012 being our most recent. A grand jury is convened for the purposes of deciding charges against somebody, and only when in special circumstances like a very serious crime, or when a public official is being considered for charges, or a member of law enforcement is being considered for charges. And it's a larger jury than a felony or a misdemeanor jury. Requires 16 to 23 jurors, which means you need to start with a pool of potential jurors, which is much larger to go at jury selection. That large pool of jurors is what causes us a problem in pandemic times, because we need to be able to provide social distance to reduce the likelihood of transmission of COVID. We don't have that space in our courthouse. And so what the 6th District Judicial District is requesting is that the commissioners approve a different site for grand juries to be held other than the Cook County Courthouse. The best solution that they came up with was, unfortunately, the Carlton County Courthouse, which is a good 2+ hours away for our citizens. And the commissioners were not comfortable moving forward with this proposed resolution in September because there hadn't been a lot of investigation locally as far as if there are any other options nearby. I have had limited opportunity, but opportunity to explore some alternatives in the meantime and to discuss this further with Sarah Taylor from the district. Couple alternatives that were explored are the ACA at the school, the Arrowhead Center for the Arts. But the school is hesitant, as I understand it, to move forward with allowing that group, a group of people in from the county, especially when they do still have students and teachers in the building. Even when with distance learning, they have a group of students and children in the building who are the children of essential workers of Tier 1. Although I can continue to try to problem solve with the ACA, that situation is so fluid because, as we know, the school's mode of operation depends on the number of COVID cases that are active in the county. Lutzen Town Hall was also explored. That's a nice kind of blank slate type space. It's a nice large rectangle space, but in reality, it doesn't provide a whole lot more square footage than our courtroom does. A third option that only came up in the last couple of days is I might reach out to Grand Portage and talk to them about their conference room space. That's a large area with a high ceiling, but I haven't even broached that topic with Grand Portage. What the commissioners should know is that we can continue to explore options, but we need to have a backup in place now because these things can come up quickly. They're serious. They shouldn't be delayed more than is absolutely necessary. And so I'd like to ask the commissioners to authorize using Carlton County Courthouse as our backup option for grand juries while we continue to explore other options that are more local. The judicial district is responsible for paying jurors for travel. They can't take away all of the inconvenience that comes from being separated from your job and your family during a grand jury, and that is grand jury proceedings. Obviously, that's made more difficult by the distance here. But again, we need to have some kind of a backup, and this is our best option for now.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? None from Commissioner Dukirk. Commissioner Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Attorney Hicken, for bringing this to us again. And forgive me, I can't remember what the Lake County and what the St. Louis County situation is with their courthouses. Might those be options, or do we talk about that in September?
Lake County is not an option. Their courtroom might even be smaller than ours. And I can't recall what St. Louis County wound up doing and whether that would be an option for us. I know in my conversations with Sarah Taylor between our last meeting addressing this and today's meeting, that was not offered as an option.
No, yeah, I think we did talk about it in September, and it wasn't, but I just couldn't remember why. But that's fine. I trust that you're looking into our options, and I agree we do need something set up as a contingency right now. You know, I'm hoping we're not going to need it, but if we do need a plan. So thank you for working on this.
And I would entertain a motion at this time now to approve this as our plan proceeding and still exploring other issues.
So moved.
Support?
Second by Commissioner Mills.
Roll call vote. Second by Commissioner Mills. Motion by Commissioner Dukirk. Roll call. Commissioner Dukirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim, aye. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Attorney Hicken, for all you've done on that. We'll move on to employee concerns, commissioner concerns. Any commissioner reports to be made at this time?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I would want to reiterate is just our positivity rate here in the county with COVID, and just ask that everyone take extra precautions, especially with you know, it getting colder out and spending more time indoors and the holidays approaching. We just can't do enough to be safe here. So please, everyone, let's do our part and see this through.
Okay. Meeting updates other than those noted. Meetings to note, Truth and Taxation, December 1st, 6 o'clock. We're going to have a mock, I think, with the advisory council, Budget Advisory Council on the 30th. There'll be information coming out on that. I think there already was. And then our next Joint Powers Zoom meeting will be December 15th. And we have an EDA packet in our information. And under item 12, recognition of staff resignations, Stacy Hawkins. Like to recognize her for all of her work. She's done a great job there. I also personally want to give congratulations to Stacy Hawkins for her strong campaign and congratulate her on being elected as representative District 2. And it was a very decisive decision, and I really wish her the very best. And I fully understand the public has spoken, and I'll have some more free time in the future. And but anything I can do to support Stacy, as well as the board, I'd be willing to do so. With that, we have new hires: Catherine Ochtrup, Deputy Sheriff, and as was mentioned, Jody Turvo Roberts, Public Health Educator, and then Commissioner Dukirk does our recognitions for anniversaries. And I'll turn it over to her at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one positive note about mask wearing with the cold season coming up. Your mask does protect your lips from being chapped. So if I can give you any good reasons why you should wear one, that's another one. All right, anniversaries. We have a lot of them in November. We have Anna Axtell, 1 year in Public Health and Human Services. We have Jesse Backstrom in the Highway Department, lucky number 7 years. We have Paul Bernier in our recycling center. I feel like he's been here so much longer because he's just a fixture, but it's only 1 year. Thank you, Paul. Clark Bloomquist, 10 years in our highway department. Diane Booth, community center. What a champion, 32 years. Thank you so much for that time that you have given us. Grace Grenagger, 2 years. I'm sure Grace feels like it's 10 at this point, but thank you. Thank goodness you have little small children to remind you it hasn't been that long yet. Then we have Ben Hadley. Thank you so much for 1 year in the highway department. Jesse Johnson, thank you so much for 6 years in the sheriff's office. Norris Klegstead, another lucky number 7. I remember these two getting hired at the same time. So Norris, thank you so much for your work in the highway department and keeping those roads open. Brittany Cubes, thank you for 3 years in the attorney's office. I know that Molly appreciates all the help up there. And Joseph Roth, thank you so much for 12 years in land services. And here's another one. I know it's hard because he looks very young, but Rick Sturm has 25 years in our recycling center. And Super Cooper Turnus, 5 years in public health and human services. James Wallner, 6 years in our maintenance. And Heather Wicklander, 5 years dispatch. Thank you all so much for your dedication to our community and continued service.
Thanks to all of those, and thanks to you, Commissioner Dukirk. And I don't think we have anything else. Last call and any other issues that I might have slipped by. Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Commissioner Mills, I'll move to adjourn.
Thank you.
I support.
Got support in the motion and roll call vote. Commissioner Dukirk.
Aye.
Commissioner Mills.
Aye.
Commissioner Bersheim's aye. We are now adjourned. Thanks, everyone, for all your work and having a very productive meeting. And let's be kind and let's work together to help each other.